Hi, it's Rupert Hine here from Action Coach in Kinross, and I'm joined today by Biswajit from Coaster. Morning, Biswajit. How are you this morning?
Fantastic. And with the weather is looking up today. So always great when you're living in Scotland, as you know.
Absolutely, it certainly is. It's a lovely autumnal day. So you've been running Coaster. You created and you've been running Coaster 6.5 years. So tell
Right.
us who and what are Coaster?
It's been quite a journey, of course, in the first place, and we have meandered through the way like any other startup. Coaster is a B2B software platform. We offer a B2B SaaS platform to mobility businesses, namely kind of car rental operators or automotive companies or large leasing companies, mainly to help manage their fleet and their mobility of offerings. It's quite an end-to-end platform, quite uniquely designed and developed to deliver a lot of operational automation, use the most modern technologies to provide something that replaces a lot of legacy platforms and deliver a huge amount of digital, what do you call, experience to both staff and their customers.
So how did you get involved in creating it in the first place?
Well, it goes back to my own kind of, passion for travel and kind of that's where I use rental services quite a lot, car rental services. And when I wanted to kind of, start looking at my own venture, I realized very quickly that if I don't, solve a problem that I feel acutely about or, feel passionate about, there's no point in actually doing something on my own. So this was a particular pain point that I really wanted to address. I felt, car rentals providers offer a great opportunity to, be able to utilize their assets to, go about, let's say, on your holidays. It gives you the convenience. If you're using it for business, gives you the kind of flexibility. But the whole process of renting cars can be quite cumbersome, can be quite expensive, and can be quite non-transparent as well. So in trying to solve that problem for myself, I think I created Coaster and the idea behind it, and then it's grown arms and lengths since then. In the last kind of 18, 24 months, I think we've also turned the company into a force for good, especially focused on the environment. Our kind of vision is to help decarbonize the sector, and we strongly feel that that will happen if people started what do you call moving away to more flexible ownership rather than the kind of private ownership of vehicles that they hold today, where the vehicles are not used for 96% of the time. And that means any car manufacturers are, spending huge amount of carbon footprint in generating assets that are sitting idle for more than 90% of their time. So why have them in the first place? And that's kind of where asset sharing or shared mobility, as we call it, really plays a huge influence in enabling more flexible alternatives to private ownership and reduce the overall number of vehicles in the ecosystem, thereby having a massive impact on carbon emission.
Yeah, so you've seen the need. It's come from your own personal experience, but as somebody who used in previous roles to do an awful lot of traveling, I can see the advantages there.
Yeah.
You've had a pretty high powered career in IT infrastructure, architecture, um, with some pretty significant players in the past.
Yes.
So I guess you've got the technical expertise to start putting this into practice. How about turning it into a business?
Yeah, I mean that's a obviously a learning curve I had to learn. Always been kind of a fast learner, so it was something I really enjoyed. I think in the past, of course, in my kind of previous role at PwC as a management consultant, I have looked at businesses not just from a technology lens, but also operational and business strategy, technology strategy. So I'm quite what do you call experienced in developing strategy as a whole for a business. But of course, running a business comes with other aspects of, admin, finance, regulations, board governance, and other things, which I've learned over the period. But I think one thing which I strongly believe in also is your network and the strength of your networks. I've always relied on, my network. I've got some really good advisors who have given me sane and sound advice and at different periods of time. And just surrounding yourself with the right ecosystem and the support mechanism means you can learn off them and implement. And so that's kind of what I've done in the last 6 years.
Fantastic. So what would you say has been, what was the biggest challenge in getting the business off the ground in the first place?
Well, I think getting it off the ground wasn't the most difficult. I think it was staying in the ground, because I think this is kind of interesting, because we are a mobility business, tech platform. Our customers are mobility operators. We launched the product back in 2020 March. And as we all know what happened in March 2020, I think that was the most significant lesson that any startup, I mean, doesn't matter whether you're in mobility or anything else, but being hit by a pandemic when everything is shutting down and suddenly everything is a chaos is scary. And especially when you have a short runway, and you need to get things going and things like that. So I think that was the biggest challenge we, or hopefully, or probably any of the other startups at that time faced. And I had a really good team who saw it as a challenge, and we decided to make the most out of it. And to be honest, if I look back in the kind of 18 months during the pandemic and post, we actually grew as a company, because we saw opportunities in things like how we get the product out, get more users. Now this is interesting, because at that point in time, a lot of rental operators were sitting idle. They had nothing to do. They had no business to run. But also rental businesses can be quite resilient, because sometimes they do have seasonality. So everyone assumed that this would be a seasonal thing, which meant that we had 5 or 6 months where people were really busy, free. They didn't have anything to do, a lot of time on their hands. And we used that up for offering some free usership. So acquired 15 odd kind of early adopters who were happy to offer their time, help us innovate on the product, and later on became customers of ours as well. So I think it was kind of momentous for us to try and overcome a huge what do you call economic uncertainty like the pandemic, but at the same time all the other aspects that came along with it. But 18 months later, we had grown the team by double the size. We had raised more investments. We in fact, we closed around our first seed round towards the end of 2021 or beginning of 2022. So all in all, it was quite a challenging year, but at the same time quite exciting as well, as a startup that found its feet during pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. It was thinking back to going through the pandemic and the number of people who talked about hibernating.
Yeah.
And if you're in car rentals, it must have felt awfully like that for a lot of your prospective customers, where they've got nobody else out there and sort of put everything in mothballs and wait. But actually, the lesson that you've just described is that that's the last thing you want to do. Use the opportunity and get really stuck in.
Yes.
So you've used that opportunity. You've brought on your 15 early adopters. You've started converting them into customers. Um, how did you grow the business from there?
So we commercially launched the product back in 2021. And from there on, it was, again, we invested quite a lot in sort of the brand building. And we always, as a tech business, we always knew that we can't grow by, let's say, adding more people, more growing the sales team, adding our cost, and then hoping they will convert. So we spent a lot of money in kind of the brand building itself, which paid off eventually, because even today, 90% of our wins come through digital marketing, spending that time in kind of SEO. We also rebranded the business. It used to be called Newven Limited when I first started it, and then we rebranded to Coaster, which was a little bit more what do you call palatable name, attractive name brand wise. So we put in a lot of effort in staying lean, but investing in growth in the right way. We also kind of spend time on partnerships. Again, I think that's another of our kind of long-term acquisition channel where we work with quite early on with some of the innovative companies out there who not only gave us kind of the additional their own branding to support us, but also it put us in the right kind of list of being referred to from our partners as well. So using a combination of sort of digital marketing, keeping our sales team and cost of sales lean. Also, the third thing we focus on the product and agility of the product. Again, we have a lot of SaaS companies, especially enterprise SaaS companies, lose their way because they get a big customer and the big customer starts influencing the product. And sometimes they even go into become custom built product eventually, not as true SaaS. But over the course of the last kind of 3-4 years that we have stayed very true to that kind of nature of the SaaS type of business that we have. And we have worked with all our users to innovate very, very rapidly. We do monthly releases on the platform, which is quite unheard of in a industry like ours. And with that constant innovation, it generates a lot of excitement in our users, and then they go and talk about it to other people. So yeah, it's been a combination of various things, starting from digital marketing to partnerships to just getting our users to feel great about using our product and talking about it more openly. So all of that has led to kind of increase in our membership. So we are about 70 odd customers that we have acquired in 3 years, and progressively they've grown bigger and bigger in kind of size. Now we are talking about bringing on board some large, massive kind of enterprise customers as well in the next 12 months.
Fantastic. And you talked there about the digital marketing. What have you found has been the success? What's been the biggest factor in making a success of the digital marketing world?
A lot of it is about learning the data points, and I've got a really, thankfully we've got a really good, strong head of marketing, Natasha, who leads the team. She's very data driven and very analytical, and I think that's been the main way of really getting our funnel customer what do you call customer. Yeah, so I think most importantly, being successful in digital marketing, I think the main thing was being very data driven. Even now, we analyze huge amount of data, starting from who comes to our website, how many users we have on our social media, how does that kind of go up and down, checking the ROI of our ad spend, marketing spends, going into events, understanding the ROI of events. And then, yeah, of course, the more kind of traditional SEO and making sure we are number 1 or number 2 on the ranking on Google and everything else. So all of that has obviously taken time to build, but I think we have done really well in terms of being able to understand, analyze the data, and then kind of make changes where necessary. He's going to bark again, it looks like.
So what's next?
So I guess if I talk about kind of Coaster in the future, it's more going to be focused on now taking the next step of the business, from a startup. We are already in the kind of process of growing internationally, growing in different segments in the market. In the last 18 months, we have kind of pivoted to what we call as shared mobility. So it's kind of a broader TAM. So, from a 100 billion target addressable market, we are now talking sort of 500 billion target addressable market, almost kind of 5 times of where we started from. But also kind of international growth and expansion. We already have customers in few locations, but they are no more anecdotal customers. that we started off and kind of innovated on the product. Now we are kind of seriously kind of considering next year to start looking at some of the markets and investing in growth in some of those markets more aggressively.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you for sharing those lessons with us. I mean, the that take what take what the environment throws at you and keep moving. Um, the whole area of marketing based on data and measuring your ROI is hugely important.
Absolutely.
And absolutely seeing where you're going. It'll be look forward to seeing you going on to ever greater success. So thanks
Thanks.
very much for joining us today.
Appreciate your time.
Very best of luck.
Thank you, Rupert. And really enjoyed talking to you.